questions now, or in between, or later? Or? Yeah, sure.
About the nomadic architecture, and I was wondering if the nomads you've encountered have been using newer technologies to kind of update the way they live, maybe under the same concept of nomadic life, but just an upgrade in their life. You mentioned that canvas, but you said that was not an upgrade in a way.
Yes, I should say they are very open to new technologies. For example, the nomads in Iran that I've been working with, they all have mobile phones nowadays. It is very much
they
in
didn't have a
line with their way
landline,
of
but
life.
they have a cell phone.
Definitely, definitely. All around the world that's happening,
okay.
of course. They even have satellite dishes, which has become, the ones who are more affluent have satellite dishes in their fence. But you have to really see what are the things that are in line with their nomadic mode of existence and what are the things that are not. New technologies, of course, there is no resistance against new technologies, but you have to always wait and see, okay, solar energy, very much nomadic. They are really excited. With our NGO, we were trying to find solar panels that are portable and they can use for small rechargeable units and so on. But we have to really be critical about all of these. If you look at the principles to see which part is nomadic and compatible with nomadism and which was not.
So architecturally, would you say there hasn't been that much change?
Lots of people would disagree with me. They believe nomads are slowly becoming sedentarized. And nowadays they are, even I have an article before revolution, it's about 35 years ago, predicting that within 5 to 10 years there would be nothing left of nomadic pastoralism in Iran. This was like very highly regarded scholars studying and predicting that it is not going to stay. 5 years ago they have still been predicting that, but the absolute numbers of pastoral mobile nomads in Iran has stayed the same since 100 years ago. As long as you have those rangelands and there's no better way of utilizing them, there would be people who would have to migrate because they are seasonal, that would have to migrate. And they have to really survive by carrying their stuff from here to there.
I guess my question is more kind of this idea of using technology or modern ways of building, but still being able to maintain this nomadic lifestyle. Like, do you see that? Have you seen examples of that? Or?
Of course. Well, leaving the pastoral nomads of the past aside, what I'm focusing on is new forms of emerging nomadism, global nomadism, local nomadism, and lots of it is happening within the virtual space. So there is a lot of nomadic existence being produced by the virtual space nowadays.
Okay, I guess I was more talking about the traditional nomads, if their architecture has changed.
Sometimes a bit confusing for me too, because I tend to switch back and forth between traditional nomads and modern nomads. We're always open, and they're always open to new proposals. If you have any solutions.
Do you have examples of like global nomadism that works in tribes? Because we've seen like the traditional nomadism that works really like the groups of people migrating. Do you have that same thing that happens locally?
There are examples, but for example, the rainbow people in the US are now trying that for years, for decades. They've been trying to live a nomadic way of life and moving in groups. But I haven't really studied them and focused them on them that much. I believe my case study, which is the transnational Iranians, their mode of existence, even if not physically, is a tribal way of, they define their identity more by their social ties rather than geographical ties. So that is a tribal mode of existence. Not necessarily seeing a group of people definitely traveling with one another, but they keep their contact through Facebook and email and phone calls, and they refresh their ties by once every few years or months meeting one another, having an eye-to-eye contact and refreshing their ties. That is as much as I have found so far.
They're using not the soft but the wired network that was described in the beginning.
The striated
Trident space.
okay.
And they're perverting that one in order to
Exactly.
achieve their soft world.
Exactly. They're using all the chances they can find in the cracks and in the wrinkles of the striated spaces to practice their own.
But when you have just one entity moving from one point to the other, is it still nomadism, or is it just not? Just one guy moving from one space to the other? Because like if you have one guy for, when you go back to your map of Iran with all the tribes,
Yes.
what you're describing on a global level is more one person moving from one point to the other. You could just cover the entire world like that, because people are moving everywhere.
True.
You could do exactly the same with that. So why do you say that is more momentum than actually, tell us, because I'm sure you had one guy that actually went to Iran.
Sorry?
You must have one guy that went from north of Iran to south of Iran, but you haven't mapped that one. So
True.
why did you map the other one that actually goes just to the center?
What I should say here is that yes, you are right. Individual people's movement is not necessarily known as nomadism, unless. What is the difference between nomadism? Your basic question, I think, can be formulated as this: what is the basic difference between nomadism and migration? Can I try to answer this?
Yeah.
Maybe it answers you. When you migrate, you move from one point to another point, and you deterritorialize yourself from one point and reterritorialize in another point, using again the terms from Deleuze and Guattari. You develop roots in the new place and build new ties to the land.
Yeah.
But as a nomad, you're always deterritorialized. You don't develop roots. That's your mode of existence. So, in philosophical terms, let's say that's the meaning of nomadism. It's not necessarily about moving with your tribe.
Do you really think, or do you think just that the territory is much bigger?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
No.
sure they're quite rooted in their landscapes.
If you go to Europe,
I'm happy that you're asking me. This territory, I also thought in the beginning that they are very much tied to their dog bone, let's say, because ancestral land that belongs to them, and they fight for their lives. But throughout the history of Iran, you see there are lots and lots of examples of tribal policies of different dynasties and kings. They would take a whole group of tribes and nomads, like 200 tent holes, 2,000 tent holes, and forcefully migrate them from this part of the country to the other part of the country. As long as they give them and the sources of water and so on, and allow them to have some sort of autonomy, which is quite important for nomads, they would be happy. And even after that king has been toppled and the next dynasty has come, they would not migrate back. That means they don't have that much strong ties with the land, but it's just, okay, this territory is needed for our physical existence. That's also in terms of gypsies. Easily they have been taken from North India to Iran 2,000 years ago, and then from Iran to the rest of the world, ending in Spain. All the Roma have originated from India. And wherever they are the same existence of the deterritorialized, unrooted existence of their tribe.
time you have also some seasonality that you can observe in some tribes.
Yes,
That
this
would
is
not-
pastoral nomadism, which is totally seasonal.
Okay. So they would go back to, you know, they would spend the winter somewhere and then they would come back to the same place for
Yes.
the year after.
They have a cycle.
So there is an attachment to the land because they know they will be able to actually, you know, harvest or feed their, sheep or whatever they're feeding them. Whatever.
The livestock.
Livestock, thank
Yes,
you very much.
that's
Sorry
it.
about mine. Well, so there is some kind of attachment to the land still. Yeah.
Of course, I'm with you on it, but I think still this basic difference between nomads and sedentary people is there, and the reason I gave you that example was to prove that their attachment to land is not their most important mode of existence. Because when they have been given another dog bone in another part of the country, thousands of kilometers away, they have happily lived there. That's why you see lots of Turkic-speaking people in a part of Iran that is not Turkic-speaking at all. They're still practicing their nomadic way of life and living all among the Persians, let's say, and Kurdish people in different parts, because throughout the history, these tribal policies has really worked, because most of the dynasties at those times were also nomadic themselves, and they would know how to take them somewhere and pacify them without having to deal with consequences.